Welcome to this explainer. Okay, today we're diving into the dynamic themes, the profound metaphors, and the seriously intricate structure of an absolute masterpiece of an ancient text. We're talking about chapter 31 of the Quran, also known as Surah Luqman. If you're the kind of person who geeks out over how ancient texts use narrative and structure to drop some timeless truth bombs, well, you are literally in for a treat today.
But right off the bat, we gotta ask, what is true wisdom? Seriously, think about it for a second. It's a concept that philosophers and theologians have been arguing over for, what, millennia? Is it just hoarding a bunch of facts in your brain? Is it life experience? Well, the text we're analyzing today steps up to provide a really profound, definitive answer to that exact question.
To get there, here's our roadmap. We're going to look at the essence of wisdom, unpack a father's timeless advice, contrast idle talk versus wise discourse, check out the ring of wisdom, and finally, look at bridging the chapters.
All right, let's jump straight into section 1, the essence of wisdom, where we define the core.
Now, to really grasp what this text establishes as the bedrock of all understanding, we actually have to start with a number, 77,797. According to the source material, that is the total number of words in the Quran. I know, that sounds totally overwhelming, right? But here's the secret to unlocking the whole thing. The vocabulary is incredibly repetitive. If you master just the roughly 2,000 recurring root words, you basically unlock the core meanings of the entire text. And our deep dive into Surah Luqman today, it's honestly the perfect place to start grasping those essential recurring concepts.
So let's look at how the text actually defines wisdom. The Arabic word used here is hikmah. And the cool thing is, true hikmah isn't just about raw intellect or, holding a bunch of trivia in your brain. It's defined as a deep, internalized understanding that actually shows up in real life as gratitude and right action. It's active, it's lived wisdom. And this concept, it functions as the central beating heart of Surah Luqman.
Now, this specific brand of wisdom is tightly, inextricably bound to Tawheed, or monotheism. The text connects supreme wisdom directly to recognizing God's absolute oneness and actively rejecting polytheism, which is known as shirk. The narrative makes it crystal clear here. Acknowledging a single supreme creator isn't just a side note, it's the absolute first required step of true wisdom. Which brings us to section 2, a father's timeless advice, the emotional core of the chapter. Right here, the text does something fascinating. It pivots from high-level theology straight into this really intimate emotional scene. You have this wise sage named Luqman, and is giving these incredibly specific, practical exhortations to his son. It starts, as we just saw, with the ultimate duty. Do not associate partners with Allah. But look at what immediately follows. Show goodness to your parents. The text seamlessly pairs the rights of God directly with the rights of parents. And from there, Luqman tells his son to establish prayer, to stand up for what's right, to hold on to patience when life gets tough. He even tells him to carry himself with absolute humility, right down to the way he walks and keeping his voice low. It's basically an ancient masterclass in moral character.
And to drive this home, Luqman gives his son this incredibly vivid metaphor. He says, look, even if a wrong deed was the weight of a tiny mustard seed, and imagine that seed is hidden deep inside a solid rock, or just completely lost in the vastness of the heavens or the earth, Allah will bring it forth. I mean, wow. He takes this massive abstract concept of divine accountability and makes it physical. He makes it concrete and totally unforgettable.
Moving right along to section 3, idle talk versus wise discourse, or the power of contrast.
Early on in the chapter, the text sets up this really stark duality. It contrasts lawul hadith, which basically means idle amusements of speech that are just designed to distract and mislead people, against the best statement. The best statement being divine revelation that actually grounds a person, acting as a true guide and a mercy. It's a direct challenge to the reader. Are you going to choose the empty noise of the world, or are you going to anchor yourself in substantial truth?
And to push that contrast even further, the text gives us this mind-blowing imagery. Just picture this. If every single tree on planet Earth were carved into pens, and the entire ocean was ink, and then you replenish that with 7 more oceans, the words of God still wouldn't be exhausted. That metaphor completely shatters the limits of human imagination, right? It just perfectly highlights the infinite, inexhaustible depth of divine wisdom, especially when you stack it up against the shallow nature of idle talk.
So, let's zoom out a bit for section 4, the ring of wisdom and structural symmetry.
When we start looking at the internal literary mechanics of this chapter, we run into this absolute marvel of ancient design called ring composition. It's like a perfectly constructed literary puzzle. Notice how step 1, the opening, discusses divine wisdom and the traits of righteous people. Then look at step 3, the closing. It mirrors the opening perfectly by focusing on divine wisdom encompassing the unseen. And right there, sitting securely in the center at step 2, is the human element. That's Luqman's intimate, practical advice to his son. The beginning perfectly balances the end, and it creates this incredibly satisfying, elegant ring structure.
And how does the chapter close? With something called the 5 keys of the unseen. These are 5 domains of ultimate knowledge that only God possesses. We're talking about the exact timing of the hour, the sending down of the rain, exactly what is forming in the wombs, what a soul is going to earn tomorrow, and precisely in what land a soul will pass away. Talk about putting things into perspective. It is such a humbling capstone to a chapter that is entirely dedicated to teaching us our place in the universe.
Finally, we arrive at Section 5, bridging the chapters through contextual links.
Because here's the thing, Surah Luqman doesn't exist in a vacuum. Chapters 29, 30, 31, and 32 are all consecutive, and they share this unique textual DNA. They all start with the exact same 3 disjointed Arabic letters, Alif Lam Mim. As a reader, that shared structural opening is basically a giant flashing neon sign telling you that these texts aren't random. They belong to a deeply connected, progressive discourse.
And those shared letters signal a brilliant thematic progression. Just look at how beautifully this flows. Chapter 30 kicks things off by focusing on intellectual proofs using historical narrative. Then we step into Chapter 31, the one we're exploring today, which shifts to the internalization of faith using a father's intimate parable. And then it all culminates in Chapter 32 with outward physical submission using really dramatic liturgical language. It's this perfectly designed intellectual journey. We go from external observation straight into internal wisdom, and we end up in physical devotion.
And the links between these chapters get even more specific than that. For instance, the very end of Chapter 30 criticizes those who lack certainty. Well, you turn the page, and the immediate beginning of Chapter 31 is praising the believers who have certainty. It's a literal baton pass from one text to the next. It seamlessly guides the reader right out of the uncertainty of skepticism and firmly into the conviction of faith.
And that amazing connectivity keeps going right up to the end. Remember those 5 keys of the unseen we talked about at the close of Chapter 31? Well, as soon as you step into the next chapter, Chapter 32, the text immediately starts unpacking and explaining those exact same mysteries. The neighboring chapter literally expands on the cliffhanger left at the very end of Surah Luqman. It's just brilliant. Which brings us to the final, lingering question this text leaves us to ponder. Will you choose the noisy, fleeting distractions of idle talk, or will you ground yourself in the timeless symmetry of true wisdom? Through its stunning metaphors, its deeply intimate family advice, and its jaw-dropping structural design, Surah Luqman offers a genuine masterclass in living an intentional life. I really hope this explainer has sparked your curiosity to go dig into the profound layers hidden within this ancient text. Thanks so much for hanging out with me, and keep learning.